Hey there, everyone. My name is Ryan Schul. Welcome to my channel. So, in the narrative today, I want to talk about tracking personal spending patterns and understanding how you are spending money, right? And then try to figure out how to save money and ultimately recommend strategies for increasing your savings. I think savings is very important. Um, a lot of people have next to no savings. They could be living paycheck to paycheck. They could be wiped out if there's one major medical bill or some kind of an accident, or who knows what, some kind of um, negative event that impacts your life, right? So I think saving at least 6 months of your living expenses is important, but a lot of people just find it hard to do that. But I think if you understand how you spend and your current spending patterns, you can analyze that pretty easily and start to understand how you can save more money and basically and have a more financially secure life. Okay, so I started my career as a financial planner. It involved a lot of selling and cross-selling and things like this. I wasn't very good at the selling thing, but I did like the concept of making investments, developing an investment strategy, retirement planning. What else? There's tax planning, insurance planning, and estate planning. Those are the big five things, right? And then just saving is very simple, very straightforward, but a lot of people just can't seem to do that. So let's take an example here. Let's jump in and see, why is this even necessary? Basically, to create a sense of awareness. When you are self-aware, you can control yourself better. If you don't understand yourself, you have no self-control whatsoever, right? So self-awareness, stability, gaining more insight into your current spending current spending patterns. That's very important. Any kind of early warning signs, you can catch that and intervene, right? Can create some type of intervention. Just personalization. Everybody's spending patterns are different. Everybody's saving strategy is going to be different, right? Building resilience, some type of goal, progressing towards your goal, debt reduction, improving the health of your credit, and just overall peace of mind. It brings this calmness, this stillness, this feeling of zen when you have a little bit of money saved up in the bank, right? If you're living paycheck to paycheck, how can you not be anxious, right? It's almost impossible. So the way I define this data set is I created a hypothetical data set, just synthetic data, so I can actually use my own credit card statement. But I'm not gonna share my own credit card statement, and I don't have too many expenses anyways. My expenses are extremely limited. I've been out of work for a while, so my expenses are bare bones. But I'm not going to share my expenses, even though it's hardly anything at all. But I would say, as a source of data, you can certainly copy and paste the data that I'm using here. That will run. It's 100% guaranteed to run. But if you import your own data, if you import it from a CSV file, that would make sense. You can download your bank statement. I'm sure I use Chase. They allow you to download your credit card transactions, so you can get the data from that. Credit card, Excel sheet, any kind of source, or it could be any kind of source. In this case, I'm just using this synthetic data that I created myself. I'm going to hit Control Enter and run the data. So I'm looking at a couple different things here: rent, utilities, insurance. These are going to be the fixed categories. The subcategories are music, gym, news, right? These things are more like nice to have. I have discretionary items down here: groceries, coffee, shopping, gas. So the fixed expenses are really fixed. Like, there's no getting around it. Unless you're going to be homeless, you're going to have some kind of rent or some kind of mortgage. You probably have to pay utilities, unless your landlord somehow pays for you. But then you're probably paying a higher rent, right? Somebody's going to pay for it. Nothing is free, and you're going to have some basic insurance. These items down here are more discretionary. These items here are more fixed. Okay, so I just ran that. I'm pretty sure. Let me just do it again real quick to make sure. And then within these categories, we have the different transactions at different establishments, right? Different corporations where we might be making our expenses. Again, you could easily get this from a CSV if you download it from your bank. So you can dump in your data to this right here. And as I create my synthetic data set, this is what I'm going to have over here. So this is just an ID. You may or may not have the ID. It doesn't really matter. The date of the transaction, I guarantee you'll have that. The type of expense, this is the category, right? The merchant where you made the transaction, or where you did some type of transactional expenditure, whatever that is, and the amount. And we have the month over here. So I actually repeated that twice. You probably just have it once, right? So you can see the basic expenses over here. Now I'm going to go ahead and expound on that data frame just a little bit by creating a couple of different like date timestamps. Is there fraud or not fraud? There could be fraudulent transaction, right? If somebody steals your card and makes some transactions with your card, right? This is not really a fraud detection kind of machine learning exercise. I do have a couple on my channel about that, right? I just add this column kind of for fun, but really there's no fraud here, and that's not what we're looking at anyways. And you could have something like this: seconds since the prior purchase. Again, it's kind of discretionary. It's not really required for this type of thing. But the things that you really need are the amount, the channel for the expense, the transaction, and the date. Those are the probably the four mandatory different items. And again, this is designed pretty flexible, so you could load your own data. I'm just giving you like a general description here of how this type of analysis can be done. Okay. So we're looking at different targets over here, different categories of expenses: dining, shopping, coffee, things like this. And is there going to be some type of subscription? So that's important too, right? If you have these monthly subscriptions, like it could be anything, right? Use your imagination. It could be Netflix, it could be Disney Plus, Hulu, or whatever, right? These are just entertainment, like TV types of expenses. It could be the Wall Street Journal. You have to look at these kind of monthly subscriptions and see, do you really need this? Is this really necessary for you to live, right? And you might need one Hulu or one Netflix or one Disney Plus. I don't think you need all three. I don't think you need all three to live your life, right? So you kind of have to have that kind of mindset and that perspective and say, what is absolutely a fixed expense? What is necessary? So rent, insurance, you're going to have to eat at some point. So groceries, you have to go to Starbucks every single day and get that cup of coffee or get that Frappuccino. No, it's more of a luxury item, right? So you have necessities and you have luxuries. The necessities, you probably can't cut back too much, although maybe, like we'll see an example a little bit later, maybe you actually can trim those required expenses, those mandatory fixed expenses a little bit, but the luxury expenses, you can definitely trim those and cut back on those, right? So that's what this whole exercise is about, to look at your personal spending patterns, make recommendations to cut back on non-necessary, non-mandatory expenses, right? And all of these sort of like discretionary transactions, just trim those, right? That's the whole goal here, to cut back on those. Okay, so let me run this, and now we're down to cash flow. So I have defined a few user-defined functions over here. This is cash flow. I have category breakdown, okay, by month, and then the figure that I'm going to chart. I'm going to create a couple charts in just a minute here of which one is this? I did this a couple days ago. Rex data frame. Oh, let me see, what is this? Put this together, test it, and I forgot what this is. Okay, this is for plotting the action and the monthlies. Okay, so that's more for the plot down there. Okay, so that's fine. So let me move on down here, and I'm going to create user-defined function for the what if simulator, just to create a basic simulation of what is going to happen, or how are we going to make these recommendations for increased savings. And then I'm going to call all of those user-defined functions and do some plots and charts right below. Okay, so I have the figure cash flow, figure category, and figure of records. These are records, okay? Okay, so my notebook is running right now, and we should have an output in just a moment here. Yes, okay. So let me expand this so we can see everything, everywhere, all at once. Was that the name of the movie? Everything, everywhere, all at once. Okay, so we see the monthly income on average is 4,378. You are getting 4,378 per month, right? In this scenario, this is auto transfer the savings, reduce shopping, trim subscriptions. That's what I was just talking about 1 minute ago, and reduce dining expenses. So set and forget 5% of income. So that's a good rule, right? Just put away 5%, pay yourself first. Put that into some type of investment account or at least some type of savings account, right? You need that like 4 savings every month. You need that discipline. You need that obedience. Bring shopping to less than 5% of income. Okay, so that's a good recommendation. We can cut our shopping to less than 5% of income. So if you are paying your rent and your insurance and your grocery bill, and you have a little discretionary money left over at the end of the month, take 5% of that. This monthly income right here is 4,377. So I don't know what 5% is. Let me look at my calculator and count. Okay, 4,377 times 218. So in this case, the recommendation here is $218. You can go crazy, do whatever you want with that, right? Splurge, go out for dinner, go buy that extra frappuccino latte with whipped cream and caramel on top or whatever you want, right? $218, you go crazy every month, but don't go above that limit, right? That is your hard limit. That's a fixed limit right there, right? You don't exceed that. Cancel 2 subscriptions, Spotify and iCloud. These are things you probably don't need. I don't even know what iCloud and Spotify is, to tell you the truth. I think it's some kind of music service. You can probably live your life without these 2 items, which I can guarantee you are a luxury. That is not a necessity that is required for life. And bringing down dining to less than 5% of income. So there's the recommendation right there, right? So we have 5%, 218 for dining per month. Okay, you can go out maybe a couple times on Friday, maybe once splurge for a big dinner once a month or something like that. Maybe 4 small dinners every Friday. Treat yourself every Friday, but keep it small, keep it modest. Like I don't know, go out with friends to a nice Thai restaurant or who knows what, Malaysian, Pakistani food. It doesn't matter, right? Like, but keep your monthly expenses for dining $218 or less, and shopping for luxury items. So that would include maybe a wristwatch, maybe iPhone, whatever the case is, right? Luxury items that you don't need to exist, right? You don't need these things for your day-to-day life. $218 for that, $218 for dinner, and this is your monthly income. This over here is your spend in pink, and the difference is the net, and that's in blue. Okay, so as you increase your spending, like here's a good example, December 2024, as you increase your spending, the net income decreases. As you decrease your spending, the net income increases, right? So that's pretty basic, pretty much common sense. So here's a breakdown. This is called a, not the word cloud, tree map. This is a tree map here. So here's your rent. This is travel, shopping over here, dining, gas, right? So you can see in the tree map all the breakdown over here. It's pretty nice. You can see the amount, the label, which is insurance in this case. Here's groceries, and the amount is 109. Travel, 790, and rent is 1,205. And then here is the estimated monthly savings by action. Okay, so we just saw that auto transfer to savings. So we just saw that, right? That was a 218 and change. 218.85, so we're rounding up 219. Reduce shopping to 143. Trim subscriptions, so that was Spotify and iCloud, and then reduce your dining to $20 a month max. Okay, that's the max right there. So what did we just accomplish? We created a realistic transaction data set. We tracked spending patterns, monthly, rolling, and by category, right? We aligned with the peers and calculated benchmarks. We produce actionable savings. These are insights where we can actually create savings and build up a financial safety net, a security blanket, right? And we designed a what-if simulator. That's what we just accomplished. Now, if you want to put this into ChatGPT, you can do that too. I have my ChatGPT API key on my desktop. So I'm going to reference it right here. You can actually put the key in the notebook cell if you want. That's not really a good idea to do that kind of thing, because then it's exposed. If you just use this all by yourself, that's okay. That's acceptable. But then you can't share this notebook with anybody, and you can't share the code. And if somebody opens your laptop, they're going to see and they open your Jupyter notebook, they're going to see that. So it's best practice just to keep the key somewhere else in a folder on on a hard disk drive, on the network drive, it doesn't matter, but it's better to just abstract that away and just reference that. So if you want to take this whole data frame and just pass that into ChatGPT, this is how you can do that. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Enter to run the cell. ChatGPT is going to do a similar but a different type of recommendation. So I did a rules-based recommendation. That's what you just saw above. So the rules basically spit out this is a recommendation: 219 savings, 219 monthly expense maximum, right? 143 trim subscriptions to 26 and reduce dining to 20. So if you want to put this in the chat GPT, that is another option for you. So you're going to put in a little bit of an instruction, just a guidance, kind of like a guardrail or whatever you want to call this thing, to chat GPT. You're going to push that into the AI tool, right? And it's going to go ahead and take everything that we had in that data frame. So again, it could be your CSV, it could be your Excel file, it could be a text file, whatever data source you have, you can take that, import that into Python, do the analysis, and then take it from Python and export that to ChatGPT, and it can make a recommendation for you. So I just hit Control Enter. I'm not going to do it again. Well, I could, it doesn't matter. Control Enter. Okay, it's running. It's going to spit out the recommendation. And then in the end, I'm going to call each of these user-defined functions right here, and it comes back with this. You've done a commendable job of saving over the past year with an impressive savings rate of 44.44%. So that's kind of a weird number, right? We have 4 4s. I'm not sure how that happened. However, there are opportunities to optimize your your spending further, particularly in areas like dining and coffee, which could help you increase your savings more. Okay, so this is the ChatGPT recommendation. We created the rules-based above, which is pretty fun and interesting. And it's great that we can do that. We can also take this and push everything to ChatGPT and get a different type of recommendation and maybe strike a balance between the two, right? So that's what I love about Python, because you can pull data, you can do your analysis, you can push it to another source. There's lots of ways that you can interact with this thing, right? So reduce dining by 20% by cooking at home more, and save $35 a month. Limit coffee to shops to visit once a week instead of multiple times per week. Maximum expense is $20 there. Cut back on hail riding services using public transit and walk when possible. The maximum expense here is $20 per month. Negotiate your rent. Look for more affordable housing. So try to knock down your rent by $100. If the landlord is being a real, whatever, I'm not going to say that word. If he's being tough about it and pushing back and it's just not negotiable, within 3 to 6 months, look for a more affordable place. Try to save $100 per month. That's the recommendation here. Reduce and switch to cheaper utility or power if possible. Try to save $50 a month. Give that 1 to 3 months for that to kick in. Now, where I live in New York City, you're kind of bound by one utility company. I can't really negotiate that with another. There's one that services my building, so I'm stuck with it. That's kind of a deal breaker for me. I can't do that, right? But I could look for a cheaper place for sure. And if you live in an area where you could move to a utility company that has better rates, then by all means do that. So this should be your recommended budget. Rent 30%, groceries 10, utilities 7. I'm not going to read this word for word. You can read this, right? Quick wins: reduce dining by eating at home. 20%, cook at home more often. You can save $35 a month. Limit coffee visits, $20 a month. Maximum $20 a month. For hail riding, structural move: negotiate your rent. We saw that above $100, and try to switch to cheaper power, $50. And we were given a time frame, 1 to 3 months, to execute on this switch to cheaper power, if that's an option for you. And trying to negotiate rent down $100, you're going to save $1,200 a year. Might not sound like a lot, guys, but if you take that $1,200 and put it into an investment account, and over the course of 10 years, you're talking about 1,200 times 10, 12,000, I think. Right? Is that it? 1,200 times 10 years, $12,000, right? Okay, so that's something. So it would take a while, right? 10 years is kind of a bit of time, but if you start now and you're disciplined and obedient about this, 10 years from now, you can save $12,000. That's something. That's definitely something, right? So that's it. So this is just my version of tracking personal expenses. and trying to understand the patterns of those expenses and then making recommendations to improve your savings. And we just saw an example. In 10 years, you can save $12,000 just by just on your rent. And if you cut back on these other things too, you're looking at a lot more than $12,000, maybe 15, maybe even $20,000, right? You've put that in an investment account and you have compound interest and you put that in some type of index fund, maybe the S&P 500, maybe the Dow 30, or whatever, Russell 2000, you could have a substantial chunk of savings, right? Maybe $30,000, $35,000 10 years from now, but you have to start today. That's the key. You have to start today. So again, this is my take on this. There are many ways to skin the cat. You can track personal expenses all kinds of different ways. This is just one perspective, right? So keep an open mind about these things. This is certainly not the only way to do it. There's probably dozens of ways to solve this problem, maybe even hundreds, right? So this is just one perspective right here. This is just my take on it. So that's it. I'm going to wrap it up. We are about 21 minutes into this. I think I covered it pretty comprehensively. I think I did justice here, and I think this is mission accomplished. Double thumbs up. So that's it, guys. I'm going to wrap it up. I will share all this code with you. I will export the file right here, save as HTML, and I will share that with you when I post a video on YouTube, which should be very shortly. Okay, so that's it. I'm going to wrap it here, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care for now.